Hey guys, it's Sarah here with Furniture Flip by Sarah, and in today's video we are working on these nightstands. So a little history, these used to be part of like an antique makeup vanity set. So they had a piece in the middle and one of those big kind of folding mirrors. And I've been using them for quite a while. It's been a couple of years since I refinished them. I've learned a lot since then, so I went ahead and added some wood fill to any of the spots that needed it. There was some veneer that was peeling, so I peeled that off and we added some wood fill to those areas. And now I can start flipping these. I'm going to be removing the hardware, sanding these down, making sure everything is nice and smooth before we start doing any painting or staining on these. For today's makeover, we are also taking part in the Halloween challenge. So this challenge is hosted by Lovey Jubby Furniture. So Meg, if you're watching, thank you so much for hosting this challenge. I'm really excited. So we are going to keep a little bit of a spookier, moodier theme for these pieces. And I'm excited to see what I can create and hopefully fit it within the theme, but still make it work for a potential client. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove these handles. I am going to be switching them out just because these are a little bit too small for the drawer. I think they're meant to be more of a decorative label than a handle because sometimes it kind of struggles to open. So I'm going to be switching these out for a heavier duty handle. Now I'm going to start sanding down the wood-filled areas and just the overall piece. To do that, so to sand everything down, I'm going to be using my Surf Prep sander. I just have a coarse sandpaper on there right now. It's probably equivalent to about an 80 grit, just to smooth out all the wood fill. So I ended up adding a little bit of Drydex to the original hardware holes and a few spots on the nightstand. So I'm just going to sand that off and then we can get cleaning these pieces and start priming. When I clean my pieces, I like to use a degreaser. This one here is by Super Clean. It was sent to me to test out. So I'm going to be using this today to clean my pieces. I've never used it before, like I mentioned, so this will be an honest review and we'll see if it is worth it. So it seems to be activating the drywall spackle I put on this piece. It's not removing it, but it is turning it pink. So we'll have to see how it dries, if it affects it at all. It does seem to be getting all the dirt and grime off of this piece. So far I am happy with the outcome. So far my review of the Super Clean is positive. I don't have any complaints. I did wear gloves just to be safe. whether I'm pregnant or not, when I'm testing out a new product, I want to make sure I am covered. So I don't know how it is if you use your bare hands. Everything came off great. I will follow up though to see if it affects my primer or paint finish. I did rinse with water, so we shouldn't have any issues, but just in case, I will leave a little review later on in the video as well. Thank you, Super Clean, for sending this over for me to test out. Before I start priming these, I'm just using some yellow frog tape to tape off the areas I'm gonna stain to protect it from getting any primer on it. So the primer usually does bleed, even sometimes when I tape, so I like to just run along the edge to make sure it's really sealed. And if I do get any primer on here, once I take the tape off, I can just lightly sand it down by hand. So I'm just gonna finish taping the second one, and then we can get priming. So to prime this piece, I am using my favorite primer by far. If you've watched some of my videos, you know that. It is the Zinsser Bin Shellac Base Primer. I swear by this stuff. I know the price has gone up, but I still would purchase it even if it keeps going up because it is that amazing. I am just using a microfiber roller, a little brush from the dollar store, because with this stuff it's super hard to clean and it does not last long. I've just lined my tray with some tin foil and I can start priming. So my technique for priming is the same for painting. I'm just going to use a brush to get the edges, anywhere where the roller might have a harder time reaching. Working with one area at a time. And then I'm gonna grab my roller and just roll all the flat surfaces. And it's okay if you have some bumps or you're worried that the primer is not gonna be super smooth. I recommend priming or sanding it down when you're done. And I'll use a lighter grit for this, just to make sure all of the bumps are smoothed out. And I'm just going to go over the top with the roller, smoothing out those brush strokes, working my way down. And continuing that method for both pieces. So to paint the nightstands, I'm going to be using my advanced paint. This is by Benjamin Moore in a pearl finish. I'm using the color Onyx. It's just a deep, true black. I'm going to be using a extra large Glide Purdy brush. This is a 1.5 inch. These are my favorite brushes. And then I'm going to also be using my favorite microfiber rollers. I will link these both down below in the description box for you guys. And I'm just going to use the same technique. I'm going to brush the areas where the roller can't really get to. And then make sure your roller is super saturated. This helps avoid any brush or roller marks. And I like to work with even, thin coats, allowing the paint to really dry and flatten out. I will probably need to do a total of 3 coats. So I like to work with just thin coats, that way the paint can really flatten out. It has a lot of self-leveling properties in it, which gives you that smooth factory finish look. Up here I'm adding the 3rd coat. I'm doing the same process with the same brush and roller. I like to do 3 coats, sometimes even 4 depending on how pigmented the color is. This way you know you're covering all of your areas. Always make sure to inspect your pieces, maybe put them on a different angle, see if there's any areas that you missed to make sure you get everywhere and your clients are happy. Whether you're doing this piece for yourself or reselling it, it's super important to make sure to get into all the little nooks and cracks of the piece and make sure you have a nice solid paint finish. So now that the drawers are dried, I'm gonna go ahead and use this Craig Jig hardware system. So I've measured out my handles, I've set the holes here, and I've set it on place to sit on the drawer. I'm just using my drill here. It's a DeWalt drill. It will link everything down below for you guys. So I'm gonna line this up with the center of my drawer. If you're having trouble finding the center, you could take a piece of tape, go down from the middle, and make sure you're lined up. Then I'm just going to take my drill and drill through these holes here. It does also come with a clamp, so you can clamp it down so it doesn't move when you're drilling. recommend doing this step before you paint, just because there are a few spots that this has nicked it because it hasn't been sitting long enough. So if you can and you have the hardware, make sure you do this step ahead of painting. You could do it after priming, but I recommend before painting to drill your hardware holes. So I've picked out my stain color here. This is Sun Bleached by Varathane. And to apply the stain, I have some rubber gloves on, and I'm going to use these blue shop rags. I'm going to make sure to mix it up really good because it has been sitting for a bit. I'm going to do one coat on the tops of the nightstands. To top coat the nightstands on the wood areas, I'm just going to be using this diamond water-based wood finish with a little foam brush, and I'm going to do 2 to 3 coats of this. Before I go ahead and close out today's video, I want to give a shout out to Meg for hosting today's challenge. Don't forget to watch the other videos. They'll be linked in the playlist down below. And follow us on Instagram if you want to see more behind the scenes content. And I'll catch you with another furniture flipping video.